Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Um, this is what I would like to call the program management nugget. This is not exactly the coffee chat series, but this is going to be a chain of videos where I get to talk about programs management, but focus a little bit more on the program implementation and things that need to happen during programs. There is no specific direction on what needs to come first, what needs to come second. I will just be sharing things as they come and putting down notes and nuggets that you need to take important note of. Now, while I'll be sharing these things, it is really important that you understand as a newbie or someone who has spent a few years doing programs, or basically just anyone who's trying to get knowledge about programs management. This is beginner friendly. It is also something that both those who are advanced and those who are intermediates can clearly understand. So let's get straight into the video. Welcome back to my channel. For this video, I am going to be talking about how to build community around your programs. Now, this is for anyone who is looking to organize short-term programs, long-term events, or long-term programs. And the idea is to teach you how you can turn your attendees into engaged long-term community members. So whatever the focus is for your event, I want you to sit back and relax and see how you can engage your attendees so much that they now become your long-term community members. Also in this video, there will be 3 to 4 key things that I'll be sharing for you to take note of. But just to start off, one of the biggest mistakes that I see in programs and events is that we often design for attendance and not for community. People tend to show up for the event or for the program that is being organized. The event ends and that is it. There is no follow-up, there is no continuity, and somehow there is also no sense of belonging during that event. Now, over the years, one thing that I have learned is that the real value of any program isn't just in the sessions or in the speakers. It is also in what happens after. And if you watch my execution part of the event playbook series, you would see where I got to talk about this with my guest as well. Event community or attendee community is what turns a one-time attendee into someone who is going to be a long-term participant, an advocate for you, or even a collaborator. And it doesn't happen by accident at all. I'll give an example. Sometime when I used to hold personal events, I would just start from when I had this, I called it tech queens, right? It was going to be a web development community where I'll bring together ladies every weekend or bi-weekly. We get to talk about tech, we get to talk about their challenges, we also get to talk about things that they want to learn, and I would be providing the resources for these women to learn and improve their skills. Now, some of these women that attended were because they had been part of an event that I volunteered in and I had talked about it, or they were at an event where I spoke and they saw me. And so that just became some kind of advocacy, for them to always show up whenever Candor is organizing something. And that is what I want you to build. For your attendees to become your community, it's not something that is spontaneous. It just doesn't happen by accident. I would now go into the 3 key points that I really want you to take note of for how you can build a community around your programs and around your event. Key point 1, you have to design for connection and not just for content. If you're trying to build a community, you need to design for interaction. You need to ask the question, it's not about who is speaking. It's not about who is attending this event, who are going to be the speakers for this event. You want to ask questions like, how do people meet each other? How do they stay connected after the program? Where do conversations continue? These are things that you really need to take note of. Well, this is especially important because people are coming from different directions. They are coming from different places towards your event, to attend your event, right? And There will probably be conversations from one person to the other sitting together. There will be conversations maybe in the bus as they are coming to your event. There will be conversations in a group if you're that person who likes to put attendees in one group before the event. Conversations will constantly be happening in those places. What do you want them to talk about? How are you projecting your event that you want your attendees to have awesome positive conversations even beyond the event, even after the event has ended? How do you want them to have these conversations? This is something that you really want to build. You also want to design how they stay connected after the program, even if they're not put in a group while the before the program starts. How do you put them in one place? Now, one thing that I really do, especially for the women tech makers community that I lead, what I do is to make sure everyone joins the WhatsApp group. And as much as possible, I try not to make the conversation grow cold, although I can be guilty of that sometimes where I don't prolong the conversation. But I do have really, really awesome team members who keep the conversations going. Building teamwork around community and events is another conversation on its own, but let's stay on this, right? You want to make sure your attendees are connected after the program. You want to ask for feedback. You want to let them know that you had their best interests at heart. What you organized or what they attended was really positive, and you want to use all of that to further improve any other thing that you're going to be organizing, because they will surely attend if they really enjoyed the first one. Key point two. And for key point two, you want to give people a reason to stay. If you notice, there are events where you'll probably attend, say the event starts by 9 a.m. and by 12 p.m. or 11 a.m., people are already leaving the venue. People will not just stay because you ask them to. They will not just stay because you're organizing and they have to be present from start to finish. I really experienced this during my last concluded event. It was Dev Fest, Developer Festival. There were some things that did not exactly go right, especially with the venue. I think the light went off at some point and we were just trying to combat all of that. If you're organizing events, these are things that would come up. So it's normal. You just have to brace yourself and prepare for all of these risks and challenges. But then people will not stay just because you ask them to. You want them to feel seen. You want them to feel supported. You want them to feel valued. But how can you provide these things for them to feel valued, irrespective of the all that challenges that you would face while trying to organize the event? One key thing could be access to resources. Is there a large screen where everyone can see what the speakers are displaying? Is there a stand where people can just walk freely, come and access materials that you're offering at the event? What are things that you would provide that will help them stay? Some of these things can also be limited based on what amount of funding you're using to organize your event, or if it's a brand-led event, or if the event has a clear focus or direction, something like to make sales. All of this have funding constraints, but you also want to provide access to resources as much as possible. You also want to provide access to continued learning. One thing that I also do is, for speakers, for example, if their talks are taking too long, I try to say, oh, what if we turn this into an info session later? What if we turn this into a Q&A session just for 20 minutes? They can come and ask you this question and the event can also go on. That will make them stay because you're leaving something behind that they surely do not want to miss. Another thing could also be just simply a space where they belong. Something I see most persons trying to incorporate into events these days are experience centers. And experience centers are really fun. They could just be a room where people are supposed to have conversations for 5 minutes each. So you push them into one room and then you tell them, you can only converse with one person every 5 minutes or every 3 minutes. You get to ask them questions. You get to ask them who they are, what they're doing currently. You get to pitch yourself as well. These are experiences. This is just a place where your attendees can belong and will keep them talking about your event or program for months and months and months after it has ended. Point 3, which is the last one. Building a community around your programs or events need structure. I'll say this again, building a community needs structure. Most people tend to confuse programs management with community management. Well, they are not really the same thing, although there's a thin line that connects both of them, but they are not the same thing at all. It is not chaos. It is not something that you just do because you want to create a community. Mind you, if you do not have any interest of creating a community around your programs, that's totally fine. If you just want to create events or programs for the sake of or to achieve a certain goal at that moment, it is not compulsory that you create a community around it, but it is important because it helps foster your work a bit more, and it helps people come back to you if there are any questions or improvements or things that they want to see better when you're organizing that again. But then community is not chaos, it needs structure. This third point is probably when you've done first and second point. You make them stay, you build an environment where they are free to come back to you. When you are now creating this community, you want to make sure that there are these three key things that I'm going to mention right now: clear communication, clear expectation, consistent touch points. With clear communication, what do you want to be talking about in the community, in the group? What are things that you want people to share? Is it going to just become a virtual resource sharing center? Is it going to become a place where there will be reminders for upcoming events? That's what you need to figure out. Clear expectations as well. Do you intend to make sales for products that you're marketing for that particular event? These are things that you need to set to clearly understand. If at this point, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after my event, and these attendees are not giving me what I want, then it's either your expectations are not set right or those in the community are not the right fit for it. You also want to have consistent touch points, and consistent touch points can come in different ways. It's either in a Slack group or in a WhatsApp community, newsletters or email updates, or recurring check-ins. You could even do calls. Someone has to be there to own the entire experience. It's not something that just springs up or just happens. Someone has to own it end to end, and to be sure that all the expectations that are set will surely be met at the end of the day. In conclusion, if your program is ending today, this is one question that you need to ask yourself. Where are my attendees going next? Where's the next phase for them after this event? Where's the next thing that they're going to do? What are key takeaways after my event or my program? If the answer to that question is nowhere, then you did not just run an event, you missed a community opportunity. But if the answer is, oh, after this event, they are going to build their skills, they are going to improve their tools, they're going to produce better softwares, then of course they're going somewhere, right? But if it's just for the sake of, then you just had an event, but at the end of the day, you also missed an opportunity to form a community around the magic that had just happened. And this is what most people do nowadays. When there are programs and events, they tend to create a community afterwards because they want to keep it going. And it also helps you as the organizer or the host to, think of better ways, better ideas to keep this awesome community that you have just shared close-knit and make them work for you. Now, in the coming episodes of this PM Nuggets, I am going to be sharing insights into how you can design programs that people do not just attend, but programs that people will stay connected to. So thank you so much for staying with me during this first series, and I really implore you to please subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with me as we build toward the launch of my playbook, the event playbook, a program manager's guide to successful tech programs. Bye.